I think this Penn State situation is worse than what we are thinking. And that's a crazy statement maybe because it looks pretty bad, but I don't know if it's getting the media or the attention or people talking about it as much as, in my opinion, they should. Because when the LSU stuff was going on with us, when all that stuff was going on, everyone's talking about it. Everyone bashing us. Everyone's saying this, that, and the third. From the outside looking in, that situation looked bad. But from being on the inside, it wasn't as bad as maybe, it looked. Now, this Penn State situation, it looks bad, but I personally think it's not good. So what happened? They fired James Franklin after 12 years of service, man. And say what you want. I disagree with the decision, but however you feel, please, Penn State fans, whoever, let me know y'all thoughts down below. Also, like, comment, subscribe. We're doing more videos where we just talk about college football, the sport, and not just the video game. I like to talk about sports in general, so we're going to do that. Now, this was the schedule for this 2025 season. Keep in mind, James Franklin and Penn State coming off, I will argue, his best season ever. Two playoff wins. Had very, very high expectations for this upcoming season, man. Return both of your star running backs, both of them. Also your quarterback, Drew. Return your starting quarterback, 2 years starter. That second year starting, they're supposed to take a major jump forward. We didn't see that with a lot of quarterbacks this year, which is interesting because that's what you usually see. Man, first year starting for a quarterback, okay. That second year is when they usually take off. We didn't see that for a number of quarterbacks across the nation. Lose to Oregon. I remember watching this game. It was a good game. I think it even went into overtime. Losing this game, okay. First loss of the year. You handle business against every other program. Not like you played a great program. You should have handled business, but you handle business. Barely lose to Oregon. You don't think much of it. Penn State still a contender at this point, still a top-ranked team. You don't think much into it. Then UCLA, they are defeated at this point. They don't have any wins. You give them their first win here. You give them their first win, man. Unacceptable. Okay, close game, whatever. They had a bad first half. Penn State had a horrible first half, only put up 7. Score looked bad. Lose that game, okay. Northwestern, bounce back game. You go out there and you lose to Northwestern at home. At home, that hurts. 3 straight losses in a row. Penn State AD pulled the trigger. Said we got to get him out of there. Tough decision. You end up losing to Iowa. Then you have Ohio State. Another game at this point. Your season is off tracks. You lose to Iowa. Another close one. This is a game at Iowa. So, it's tough. They're a solid team this year. But then you get dominated by Ohio State and you lose a close one to Indiana. And then you win out the rest of your games. You end the year 6-6. But we haven't even talked about they do not have a head coach. They was one of the first teams to fire their head coach, James Franklin, as they fired them, around week 6, week 7, somewhere in that range at this point when they fired their head coach, James Franklin. One of the first teams, they still don't have a head coach, man. You have teams that fired their head coach and already hired coaches. James Franklin is going crazy. He has been rehired at Virginia Tech and stole the entire recruiting class, maybe not the entire, but majority of the recruiting class from Penn State to Virginia Tech. Honestly, it's embarrassing. It's crazy. I never seen Penn State look this just questionable, in my opinion. So let's come over here and look at James Franklin's career at Penn State. So he took over in 2014 after Bill O'Brien. 7-6, 11-3, 11-2. So he put up some solid years, some bowl wins, all of this stuff. Like some good years. 4-5 during the COVID year. We don't blame you. Coming out of COVID, 7-6. Okay, you bounce back. 11-2, 10-3. Your best year ever. 13-3. You win 2 playoff games. You win 2 of them things. You win 2. You come out the next year 3-3, couple tough losses, got some injuries, but with everything Like all the stars aligned if you was a Penn State fan entering the season. You just thought you was going to be a contender, be a dominant team, and so did that AD. Who knows how much money they put into the Penn State program and NIL and everything entering that year. And for the start 3-3, you fire your head coach. Now you have Terry Smith taking over the program. And apparently he's one of the top candidates for the head coach job. My issue here, if they end up promoting Terry Smith, okay, he deserved it, all that good stuff. Shout out Terry Smith. But you should have promoted him weeks ago. Weeks ago, man. Promote him weeks ago so the recruiting class still have something. They know their head coach. They know what they're, getting themselves into. And Terry Smith could recruit like the head coach instead of, I'm recruiting like the guy that might be here or might not. If all of that stuff makes sense. So after 12 years of service, let them go. I don't love the decision. Now, when it comes to this 2026 recruiting class, it's not in a great spot. We're going to look at the recruiting rankings. And first of all, shout out to USC for signing the number one class. National signing or early national signing day was yesterday. And they have 35 commits. They're actually going crazy. Notre Dame up here, Georgia all the way down at 4 and Alabama all the way down at 5. The SEC has took a step back this year. They did. They took a step back, man. Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, A&M, LSU there at 11. And this is with a new head coach. This is a team that fired their head coach, brought in a new head coach. Even Florida, a team that fired their head coach, and they just hired their new head coach, same as LSU, and they bring in a top 15 class. I would argue Penn State and Florida are similar jobs, maybe. I would argue similar jobs here, man, as far as let's go all the way down to where Penn State is at, man. And we have to, we can't even scroll. We got to move. We got to move all the way down. And they actually do not even have a ranked recruiting class. How do they only have 2 commits? How do they only have 2 commits, man? Shout out to the 2 guys. Shout out to y'all guys. Shout out to young boys, man. Jackson, Ford, and Peyton. Shout out to y'all for sticking with the program when they're going through something. You even got a quarterback of the future. They are going through something. But this is insane, man. What is really going on here? I never seen a top program just not be able to, sign recruits like this. You have Virginia Tech all the way up to 25. All the way up to 25. This is James Franklin came in flipping. He got the spatula out. He's flipping recruits, flipping these Penn State recruits, keeping the best in Virginia, just doing this thing. And Penn State is out here with no coach and no recruiting class. And it's going to make it very, very tough for this next coach to have a good team next year, because I imagine the portal might be jumping for Penn State players, depending on who their head coach is. If they promote Terry, maybe they should at this point, maybe not that many guys enter the portal, but this is also a roster that was older. A lot of their best players are going to go on to the next level, so you got to deal with that as well. But it's why don't we have a head coach? Are we waiting for an NFL guy? Are they going to make a big splash for an NFL guy? That makes sense. Or do they hire Brian Dable, the coach for the Giants that got let go? I hear nothing but good things about Coach Brian. Here, he's a great guy, this, that, and the third. So I wouldn't be mad at that hire whatsoever. Now, the other name is Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell. Apparently, he's supposed to be in consideration for the job. I don't know. I'm just telling y'all what I seen on Twitter, what people talking about now. Apparently, Matt is now supposed to be one of the top guys for that job. We'll see. But this Virginia Tech situation where they're going to be a good team next year, man. They obviously they got a high school recruiting class, and it takes years for those guys to develop. I'm interested to see what James do in the portal. The amount of guys he was able to flip, the amount of relationships he had with these recruits, that's really, really important in my opinion, just because he said he wasn't trying to take from Penn State recruiting class, but instead he was just, going off the relationships he had with these recruits instead of, trying to recruit against Penn State, if that makes sense.
Coach, I know this is a little off topic, but since we're all here for 30 minutes, just what do you think when people link you to the Penn State job and say that you and your family aren't happy at Alabama?
Yeah, we are extremely happy at Alabama. It's the first time I've been asked, so I appreciate you, Charlie. And we are extremely happy here. Love the challenge, love the grind, love this place. And there's never been any link. There's never been any conversation. There's never been any interest either way. And so I'm glad we can put that to bed right now.
So for some reason, people saying Caleb DeBoer might take that job. I never even considered that personally, but you see what he has to say, and he's not going. These were the odds for the job. I don't know what per this website yesterday. This was yesterday odds, and Terry seems to be up here, but this is not the updated one where Matt is now. I seen one where Matt was the lead. Mike Tomlin is crazy, but Brian Dable up here, man. I hope Terry get it at this point. I really do hope Terry get it. This is him right here if you're not familiar. Now, like I said, my issue if he does get this job, the decision just took way too long, man. It took way too long. It allowed the recruiting class to fall apart, and then also for people like me to make videos like this talking about a Penn State situation where, in my opinion, this should be a great program. They should have a great recruiting class, man. They shouldn't be struggling to keep guys in their recruiting class, even without a head coach. You've seen other teams still keep that recruiting class together. LSU, Florida, you can name other schools that still have some type of recruiting class even without having a head coach. So I don't know what's going on. There was like tweets from like some fake athletic director page. People were saying that page was real. I don't know what's going on with that. If you've seen it on Twitter, you know. But that was going on also on Twitter, man. If you're not on college football Twitter, go follow my Twitter down below, man. Twitter is a funny place, a great place for any college football fans. And I try to retweet stuff and, talk about stuff that's relevant. So go check out the Twitter as well. But who knows? Maybe, Penn State got a plan up their sleeves, because what I'll say is we talked about LSU and, that whole situation with letting go their coach and then their athletic director. And then it looks like their program is, and then also not having a president. And then all of that stuff happened all within like a week or a few weeks, and it just looked really bad. But you now see the end result, and you look back and was like, oh, well, all of that stuff happened, but the end result of getting Lane Kiffin, okay, we could live with that, and we could act like that didn't even happen, or it all made sense. So maybe, you watching this video at this point, Penn State announced their new hire at head coach, and maybe all of this stuff makes sense, and maybe that first day as head coach, he instantly gets, 5 guys to commit. Maybe. Let's hope that happens, because, I'm from Pennsylvania. I want every school in Pennsylvania, everyone from Pennsylvania to be good, to be well. So I'm hoping for the best for Penn State, even though I went to Temple, and I would consider Penn State more of a rival, even though Temple is not on the same level as Penn State, but I'll consider them a little bit more of a rival, but I still want all Pennsylvania schools to do well. In other news, Colorado hired the go-go offense, but he was at UNLV. He went over to, Sacramento State, and now he's Colorado offensive coordinator. So that's pretty good, man. That's pretty good.
See, what I'm not going to do is this. All we doing is swapping twos. So that's why I wanted to take this class, because everybody's twos are upset, so they all want to leave because they're twos. So guys are just swapping twos right now, swapping different ones. So for me, I'm not trying to swap spit. I'm going to stick with my guys and develop our guys and stick to this model, because I truly believe that it's going to slow down after a lot of guys. There's going to be some good players that don't end up going where they want, or some people that's trying to chase the quick buck real fast, and then it end up not working out to the best of what you wanted. So I'm going to stick to this, and then we'll still hit the portal to get some key pieces that we need, right? So that's why.
I like Fran Brown. That's an interesting take that, a lot of backups, a lot of twos enter the portal. I would agree. Definitely a lot of backups. A lot of guys is not receiving playing time. Don't like the coaching situation. Maybe even got a coach change, and they don't know how the new coach is going to, if they're like him, whatever. So a lot of that makes sense. I will argue it's still a lot of good players that enter the portal, and he knows that. He knows very well it's a lot of good players enter the portal. A lot of players that's, a lot of Heismans. You look at the last couple Heisman Trophy winners, and how many of those guys were transfers? Maybe the last 5 were transfers, something like that. So it's definitely a lot of good players in the portal. A lot of their roster is portal guys, but I get it. Swapping twos, swapping spit, all that stuff is funny, man. Shout out to Fran Brown and my guys over at Syracuse, man. I really do want Syracuse to be a good team. We're doing my Syracuse rebuild. Check out the Twitch, man. We're actually going to be streaming that rebuild probably now as you're watching this video. We're probably live doing my Syracuse rebuild. But that's all I got for y'all boys, man. If y'all enjoyed this content, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate y'all boys. And we on to the next one.